The man who can control his hunger can control his life. Simple, brutal, true. We live in a world that worships pleasure, where every craving is just one click, one swipe, one delivery away. The modern human is not starving for food, he's starving for control. We've turned satisfaction into a sport, indulgence into identity, and self-discipline into something almost alien. Musashi's principle to master hunger sounds almost absurd today. Why would anyone choose restraint when abundance surrounds us? Yet, that's precisely what separates the warrior from the wanderer. For Musashi, hunger was never just about food. It was a metaphor for all forms of desire for comfort, attention, luxury, and distraction. He believed that every unchecked appetite makes a man weaker, softer, and easier to control. Think about it. Food gives us life, yet our obsession with it often robs us of energy, focus, and clarity. The same can be said for every pleasure. Coffee rituals, endless scrolling, gourmet obsessions, the chase for the next treat feed our senses but starve our spirit. We're surrounded by taste, but starved for purpose. Musashi's life was one of simplicity, not out of poverty, but philosophy. He ate sparingly, slept little, and trained relentlessly. For him, discipline was not deprivation, it was liberation. He knew that comfort breeds dependency, and dependency kills freedom. In a world built on cravings, Musashi's lesson cuts through the noise like a blade. Freedom begins where craving ends. Because the man who can sit in hunger and remain unmoved, that man cannot be controlled. He owns his mind, his body, his destiny. And Musashi's secret, he wasn't against taste. He was against the need for taste, philosophical exploration. At the heart of Musashi's wisdom lies one timeless law. Mastery over desire equals mastery over self. Every warrior, every philosopher, every seeker of truth has faced this same question. How much control do I have over my own impulses? Because the answer determines everything else. If you cannot rule your own hunger, your hunger will rule you. Musashi's idea of good food was never simply about taste or diet. It was symbolic, a stand-in for all sensory pleasures that hijack the mind's clarity and enslave the will. A warrior who begins to crave comfort, luxury, or rich flavor loses sight of what truly matters. Each indulgence, however small, dulls the blade of discipline. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi wrote, "Do nothing that is of no use." Those 8 words cut through centuries of human weakness. The pursuit of pleasure for its own sake, he believed, was useless, not because pleasure is evil, but because it consumes time, energy, and focus that could have been used for mastery. To him, every act should either sharpen your mind, strengthen your body, or deepen your spirit. Everything else, indulgence, vanity, excess, was noise. This idea echoes perfectly with Musashi's teaching perception is power. What you allow to disturb your mind becomes your master. Pleasure in itself is neutral. It's our attachment, our judgment that we need that corrupts us. Musashi lived by command of the mind over the body, never letting the senses dictate his actions. And yet most people surrender that very power the moment their senses demand something. The craving for taste, luxury, or comfort becomes their invisible master. Musashi understood this. He realized that the real battle was not fought on the battlefield, but within oneself. A man who cannot skip a meal without irritation is already ruled by appetite. A warrior who cannot function without his comforts is already disarmed. True power, therefore, lies in calm detachment, the ability to want nothing yet perform with absolute purpose. Here lies the paradox of hunger. Hunger tests strength. It asks, how long can you endure without breaking? Pleasure tests control. It asks, can you enjoy without becoming enslaved? Both are necessary, but only one leads to freedom. In our modern age, Musashi's lesson feels almost alien. We live in what could be called a dopamine culture, a civilization built around constant stimulation. We check our phones, sip our coffee, watch a video, and order food, all within minutes. Every second, our brains are trained to seek micro-rewards. We have become pleasure-dependent machines, conditioned for comfort, allergic to stillness. But Musashi centuries ago already diagnosed this sickness. He would say that such indulgence weakens resolve. The moment comfort becomes necessity, freedom disappears. For him, simplicity wasn't deprivation. It was a strategy. Every comfort you refuse strengthens your will. Every desire you master becomes fuel for clarity. To live like Musashi is not to reject pleasure entirely. It is to place it beneath you, to enjoy without attachment, to eat when needed, not when bored, to choose water over wine, silence over noise, calm over chaos. Musashi called it stillness, a calm so deep that temptation loses its voice. The warrior stands unmoved as the world tests him. When you learn to resist unnecessary pleasure, you discover something extraordinary peace that cannot be bought, shaken, or stolen. So ask yourself, if your peace depends on flavor, then you are not free, you are fed. Hunger, in this sense, becomes a sacred teacher. It reveals how much of your life is governed by craving. Every time you endure a small hunger, you practice a piece of freedom. Every skipped indulgence trains the spirit to stand firm when it truly matters. Musashi's ideal was calm detachment, a mind so disciplined that even desire bows to it. He didn't eat to please his tongue. He ate to preserve his strength. He didn't live for comfort. He lived for clarity. In mastering his hunger, he mastered himself, because the body demands satisfaction, but the mind demands mastery. And the question every warrior must answer is simple, yet defining. Which one do you serve? Practical application. Turning discipline into daily power. Philosophy without practice is just decoration. Musashi's wisdom only becomes real when it's lived, when it shapes what you do at the table, in the mind, and through the day. This principle, do not be obsessed with good food, isn't about diet or denial. It's a training ground for the will. Every meal, every craving, every small indulgence is a chance to reclaim your inner command. Here's how to live it step by step. Step 1. Practice mindful consumption. Before eating, pause. Feel the craving rise, that twitch in your hand, that thought that says, I deserve this. Don't suppress it, just observe it. Ask yourself, am I eating for need or for noise? Most of what we call hunger is not physical. It's emotional static, boredom, stress, and habit. By simply noticing it, you interrupt the automatic cycle of desire and satisfaction. Exercise. Try eating one meal in complete silence. No phone, no TV, no music. Just you and the plate. Chew slowly. Taste every bite. Notice how much less you actually need when attention replaces distraction. Musashi lived this way without luxury. His meals were simple: rice, water, and vegetables, but his attention was total. Mindfulness was his flavor. Each time you practice mindful consumption, you're not training the body, you're training awareness, and awareness is the first cut toward mastery. Step 2. Break the comfort ritual. Pick one comfort food, sugar, late-night snacks, or takeout, and remove it for 1 week. Watch what happens. The first day, your body might protest. The third, your mind will bargain. The fifth, you'll realize something profound. The craving was never permanent. It just screamed loud enough until you listened. The goal here is not punishment, it's proof. Proof that you are stronger than your desires. Every small act of resistance strengthens your will like a muscle. When Musashi walked away from luxury and lived as a wanderer, he wasn't running from comfort, he was sharpening clarity. You do not need to renounce everything, but you must test your independence. Because once you've conquered a craving, the world loses power over you. Step 3. Redefine pleasure. Modern culture trains us to associate pleasure with stimulation, flavor, noise, and entertainment. But the warrior learns to find satisfaction in simplicity. Try this. Eat a meal of plain food, rice, fruit, bread, and water. Sit with it. Watch your mind search for something more. Then notice when it settles. That moment when simplicity feels enough is the beginning of freedom. A true samurai doesn't despise pleasure. They redefine it. They find pleasure in control, peace, and restraint. A warrior makes everything his teacher, even hunger. Let hunger teach patience. Let simplicity teach gratitude. Let the absence of taste reveal how rich awareness itself can be. Step 4. build detachment through discipline. Musashi trained not just his sword but his schedule. He refused to let moods decide his actions, and neither should you. Set fixed times to eat and stick to them. Whether hungry or not, whether tempted or tired, honor the rhythm. It's not about the food, it's about the obedience of body to mind. You'll notice something subtle. Stability appears. Your body starts following the command of your will. That steadiness, once built, extends beyond the plate. It enters how you speak, how you work, and how you face conflict. Discipline in eating becomes discipline in living. The modern person says, "I'll eat when I feel like it." The warrior says, "I'll eat when I decide to." That difference, one of choice over impulse, separates chaos from mastery. Step 5. Replace indulgence with awareness. When craving hits, don't obey it. Study it. Close your eyes and trace its shape. Where does it live in your body? Is it tightness in the chest, a pull in the gut, a voice in the mind? Stay with it. The longer you observe, the weaker it becomes. This is the same mental skill that can transform every area of life. The same awareness that stops unnecessary craving can steady you in conflict, calm your mind, and enable precise action, no wasted motion. You realize that craving and emotion share one root, a demand for comfort. But comfort is not the goal of a disciplined life. Clarity is. Musashi said that a true warrior remains calm in all conditions. By observing craving without obeying it, you're learning to be calm in the presence of temptation. That is the highest form of strength. Step 6. Live with inner sufficiency. When you master your hunger, something remarkable happens. Gratitude returns. Every small meal becomes enough. Every simple thing becomes valuable. The absence of excess reveals the abundance of the ordinary. You stop chasing flavor and start tasting life itself. Musashi lived this as self-sufficiency, needing little, fearing nothing. A life so simple, no loss could disturb it. He who needs little rules much. Gratitude turns simplicity into wealth. A man who can be content with water is richer than the man who needs wine to feel alive. This doesn't mean rejecting life's pleasures, it means enjoying them without chains. You can savor a fine meal without clinging to it, just as you can love someone without owning them. That's the quiet secret behind Musashi's restraint. It wasn't denial, it was power. Every meal is a test, every craving a mirror, every act of restraint a small victory in the lifelong war for self-command. The world says, "Indulge, you deserve it." Musashi whispers, "Resist, and you will deserve more." Because the taste of freedom, the taste of knowing your desires serve you, not rule you, is far richer than the taste of any food. Conclusion. Freedom doesn't come from abundance, it comes from indifference. The man who can walk past comfort without flinching has already tasted true power. Miyamoto Musashi understood this long before modern society drowned itself in endless options and artificial pleasures. To him, simplicity was not deprivation, it was liberation. Every unnecessary craving was an anchor that kept the spirit from rising. He saw how easily comfort becomes dependency, how pleasure, when worshipped, becomes a silent master. Food was only the symbol. The real battle was against attachment. The man who cannot resist the sweetness of the tongue will soon surrender to the weakness of the mind. To need flavor for peace is to build happiness on sand. Musashi's philosophy cuts deeper than any blade. If something outside of you controls your emotions, you are already defeated. And yet this truth feels almost rebellious today. We live in an age of obsession with gourmet trends, coffee rituals, endless scrolling, and constant stimulation. We've confused pleasure with meaning, comfort with contentment. But the samurai both knew, when you depend on pleasure to feel alive, you hand over your freedom. A man ruled by his tongue will never rule his destiny. A mind enslaved by habit will never taste clarity. To live simply is not to live poorly. It is to live powerfully. It is to master need before need masters you. The minimalist who eats with gratitude may have less, but he is more disciplined, more focused, more free. Musashi taught that poverty is not the lack of possessions, but the hunger for them. The man who needs nothing owns himself. True poverty is not the absence of possessions, It is the presence of endless desire. The world calls austerity harsh. The warrior calls it freedom. The world chases indulgence. The philosopher trains endurance. Because the less you need, the more powerful you become. Because discipline is the highest form of pleasure. Because a man who can eat plainly can think clearly, act decisively, and live freely. Musashi's lesson was never about food. It was about command. Hunger was his teacher, simplicity his training ground, and mastery his reward. His life reminds us that self-control is not the denial of life's flavor. It's the rediscovery of its essence. So tomorrow when you sit to eat, pause for a breath, feel the taste, observe the craving, watch how the mind reacts to that flicker of need, that spark of impatience. And then ask yourself, quietly but truthfully, do I control the taste or does the taste control me? If you can answer that you control it, then you have already stepped onto the warrior's path, the same path Musashi walked alone, the same truth the samurai carved into time. Freedom begins where craving ends, and in that moment of quiet mastery, that stillness between hunger and choice, you'll discover the rarest flavor of all, the taste of freedom.